The Buffalo Bills are in a position that they haven't been in since Tom Brady was a New England Patriot, and that's the fact that I don't think they have the best roster in their division. The only thing they do have is they have a quarterback who's proven that he could win the division and win playoff games, something that the other two challengers in the AFC East haven't proven yet. The Jets have Aaron Rodgers, who has proven he could win playoff games, but he hasn't even played a full game as an AFC East player yet. And obviously, you could look at Aaron Rodgers' history and say that obviously he's a great player. He could win anywhere, but we don't know that for sure. I think the Jets made great moves for them, and they are going to be a very, very difficult opponent for the Buffalo Bills this upcoming season. But everything is an if with the Jets, and I'm a Jets fan myself, so I have never had a ton of confidence in the team. Always going to root for them, obviously. But they continue to disappoint you every year. Last year, perfect example, Aaron Rodgers has a devastating injury 4 plays into the game, and we are basically back at Zach Wilson. So with the Jets, the hardest thing with them is they're basically an if. You hope, as a fan, for me at least, that they could be a really strong, tough challenge for the Bills, but it's just ifs with them. So I don't think you could say that they are truly better than the Bills yet because there's too many question marks and too many unprovens with them. However, with the Dolphins, they have continued to get better every year Mike McDaniel has been there, and this is going to be an extremely crucial season for the Dolphins because Tyreek Hill is getting towards the end of that contract. How much longer is he going to stay at the top of his game? I mean, he showed no signs of slowing down last season, but obviously he's getting a little bit older as a wide receiver, and sometimes we see wide receivers hit a wall, and all of a sudden they have a great season, and then the next season they take a huge hit, and they're not nearly as productive as they had been earlier in their career. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to Tyreek Hill. His speed is something that we haven't seen in the NFL before. But the Dolphins are in a really crucial year where I think jobs are going to be questioned, whether that's coaching or certain players like Tua. At the end of the season, they're going to need to win, and I think one of the ways they're going to try to, secure their jobs basically for another year is really pushing for the division. And the Bills made significant moves on defense that are really going to put their defense in a bigger question than it was. Last year, the Bills defense had taken a significant drop off from what they had been since, Sean McDermott has been there, being a defensive guy himself. They lost Leslie Frazier, and McDermott took over the play calling duties, and the defense was not nearly as good as it had been in previous seasons. And it's going to be a really big question about what they could do next season when they lost key pieces: Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, players that have been staples for the Bills defense for a long time. Now, I understand why they let those players go. They had two safeties who were on the wrong side of 30 and, just continuing to age. And obviously last year they didn't play up to their standard. And then Tre'Davious White is considered one of the best cornerbacks in the league when he's healthy. But the biggest statement I just said right there is when he's healthy. And it's something that he hasn't been able to do for a few seasons now. So the Bills are going to make a financial move, let him move on, try to, fill his role, which they've tried to fill the last few years, because he's never healthy. So it makes sense. It's just, those are big time players for the Bills to lose. Obviously, another big loss that they had was on the offensive side of the ball in Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs was a really, really core part in turning Josh Allen into the quarterback he is today. Look at, Josh Allen's stats pre and post Diggs, of him arriving in Buffalo, I should say. It's, night and day. Obviously, some of it is Josh Allen, learning, developing. Brian Dable helped him a ton. And then there's also the fact that you had one of the best receivers in the league. Obviously, your stats are going to be helped. This year is going to be a really big question mark for Josh Allen. And obviously, all of his talent is not from Stefon Diggs. And in the second half of last season, Diggs wasn't even used in the offense that much. But defenses, whether he was being used or not, defenses still had to pay attention to Diggs. So I'm curious to see how teams are going to play the Bills this year and see how much of it was, the defense plan to stop Josh Allen versus how much of it was to stop Diggs, because now Allen is the one player that defenses are going to focus on entirely. He's the best player on that offense. He, doesn't have as many pieces around him that are going to be as effective as Diggs was. So it's going to be really interesting for them to see. I think that the Jets roster is extremely scary for Buffalo, but like I said, it's a huge if. The Dolphins are in a position where they kind of have to win this year, and the division will be a huge help for them. Just they haven't been able to win the big games. They lost the division last year. So it's a bunch of question marks in the AFC East. I don't think the Buffalo Bills are bad in any way, shape, or form. I think it's just going to be a lot of question marks about Josh Allen, and we're really going to see if he could put a team on his back, which there's very few players that could do that in the league. And I'm not going to say he's a bad player if the Bills don't have as good of a season as they've had in previous years. but he's going to have to take a lot of the burden this year. I'm interested to see how it goes. I do think he's a fantastic player, and he has an arm that and legs that make him extremely difficult to defend and one of the most exciting players to watch. So I'm curious to see how it goes for the Bills this season. I think the AFC East is going to be a show. 3 competitive teams, and then obviously the Patriots have a rookie quarterback, and while I don't think they're going to be competing for the division title or even the playoffs, obviously rookie quarterbacks were proven last season with CJ Stroud, could totally flip-flop a franchise. So not saying that's going to happen, but I think the AFC East has a bunch of interesting storylines going into next season. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think Josh Allen is going to be able to carry the Bills on his back to another division title, or do you think that the Jets or Dolphins can potentially take it from the Bills? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like, make a comment, and make sure to subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And I'll just see you guys in the next one.